Hi. I'm George Steeves. I'm 29 years old and I have Asperger's syndrome. One of my life's dreams was to be on American Idol, and I was going to share my story with the millions of viewers watching at home. But instead, I'm going to share it with all of you in the audience.
Career happen. I did this show in hopes that it could possibly lead to some things, but it ended up becoming so much bigger than what I intended it to be.
Welcome to Meet the Biz. I'm excited to have this man on today. Talented. I saw his show, I don't know, was it 6 months ago, 8 months ago?
It was last June now, actually.
Was it last June?
Yep, June 2019.
Oh my God, time goes like... Well, I'm just gonna introduce, he is the Magic 8-Ball Man, George Steeves. How are you?
Hanging in there. How are you?
Good, you look great.
Thank you. It's the first time in a while that I actually put effort into my appearance.
Ah, yeah, you were like, you had a beard down to here or something?
You would have thought I was a hobo had we shot this yesterday.
I understand.
You have to forgive the little lovely dot right here.
Right.
It's not a smudge on my computer, as you can see. That dot is permanently there.
It's a whole nother universe.
I'm sure a lot of us wish we could live in right now.
Oh.
A parallel universe.
Parallel universe. Well, Mr. Eight Ball, what is Magic 8-Ball?
Well, Magic 8-Ball, My Life with Asperger's is a one-man show that I started developing in 2016. I actually got the idea when I was watching an episode of Oprah's Masterclass on the OWN network with Whoopi Goldberg. And Whoopi was talking about how her one-woman show had helped get her career off the ground because she just wanted to work as an actor and she wasn't having any luck getting any jobs. So she decided to put together a one-woman show that displayed all her characters, like the Valley Girl and the woman with the disability and the old lady. And so I was studying improv at the Groundlings at the time, and I thought, well, maybe I should do a one-man show. I've been taking classes at the Groundlings and developing all these sketch characters. I can display them all in a one-man show of my own, like she did. Yeah. But then in 2000, I came up with the idea around 2014, 2015. But then by 2016, I started to develop it and think of ideas and concepts. And I took it to this guy, Mark Travis. And I ended up not working with them because financially I couldn't afford it. But I was having a meeting with him at his house, and he stopped me in the middle of the meeting when I was explaining to him the idea of my one-man show and said, wait a minute, you have Asperger's? That's your show. That's your story. That needs to be the center of your one-man show. And I ended up not working with them, but I took the idea and I ran with it. So I made Asperger's the center of my show and what I was going to talk about. And I was going to make it very autobiographical. And I was trying to come up with a name of the show. I had a couple of different ideas floating around, like Asperger's 101, or this other director I was considering working with wanted to call it Asperger's with everything on it. And but then I was trying to be a country singer at the time, and this was 2016, and I just released a single called Magic 8-Ball, That's My Life. And my mother was like, well, why don't you just call it like your song, Magic 8-Ball? And then from there it was Magic 8-Ball, My Life with Asperger's.
Wow. It's amazing how things go through the process.
Yeah, and so I spent the rest of 2016 writing it and developing it. I was working with this woman named Marianne Davis Rago, However, by the time 2017 came, I had worked on it for a year, but I set a deadline. I was like, okay, 2017 Hollywood Fringe Festival, it's going up.
Now, one question: how long did it take you to write it?
Well, it was a process. I mean, I did a lot of meetings and sessions with Marianne to talk about my life and different events that happened. And then we started to shape and structure a chronological story of all the different moments throughout my life from childhood through adulthood.
Right.
However, by 2017, I had a complete draft of the script from start to finish.
Yeah.
However, Marianne became unavailable, so I asked my friends, Penny and Crystal Wilson, who had never directed a play before. I had initially just wanted them to be producers for the show. However, they started working on the show with me because it needed a lot of chiseling and a lot of editing because it was like a big fat essay and we needed to get the good parts out.
Right.
So we really carved and finessed, and I have a tendency to get very monotone sometimes with my voice, one of the lovely side effects of Asperger's. So they taught me to put more vocal inflection here and put more emotion there, and use more colors in your voice because I was tending to go like this when I was delivering my material.
Right.
So they taught me how to, liven it up a little more in different sections because you never want your audience to be bored.
Right.
You're going to be up there for 1 hour yourself doing your one-man show. So
Well, I have to say when I saw it, anything but bored. My God, you were watching the whole thing. In fact, when it ended, it was like, that's it? I want more.
that's what you want. I mean, if you're going to put your audience through a 1 hour, one-man show, that's the response you want to hear.
Yeah.
You never want to hear the opposite, which is it couldn't end fast enough. You never ever want to hear that. And by that point, when you saw it in June, that was my 2-year anniversary because I had done it at Hollywood Fringe in 2017. I did North Hollywood Fringe.
Now, did it premiere at the Hollywood Fringe?
It did. That was my 2-year anniversary celebration, one night only kind of show.
That's a great place for it to premiere, the Hollywood Fringe.
It is. I was really glad. At the time, it's now called the Broadwater, but at the time it was called Sacred Fools Theater at the Black Box, and that's where I premiered it.
Nice. And then you took it all around. I mean,
I did. By 2018, I had done Hollywood Fringe and North Hollywood Fringe in the fall of 2017, and then I did Solo Fest at the White Fire in January of 2018 because by that point, the show had won 4 awards. I won 3 at Hollywood Fringe, and I won 1 at North Hollywood Fringe for Best One-Person Show Comedy. Yeah. And then one of the prizes from the Hollywood Fringe Award was I got to do it at the Solo Fest 2018 for free. I didn't have to pay to rent the White Fire, and that's the largest solo theater festival on the West Coast. And then I started to expand after that. I did Ventura County in the spring of 2018, where I went to college, California Lutheran University. I didn't do it at the school, but I did it at Hillcrest Center for the Arts. And then I got to take it to Virginia in July of 2018. And then I took it to Edinburgh Fringe in August, where I did 26 shows in 26 days.
Now, explain for those who don't know about Edinburgh, the Edinburgh Festival. What is that?
Well, the Edinburgh Fringe Festival is the largest theater festival in the entire world. The year I went, 3,000 shows were running that entire month, and I was one of the 3,000 shows. But I luckily had a great producer I was working with. His name was Michael Blaha, and he's been doing this for years. He set me up at the Gilded Balloon, which is one of the big 4 venues at Edinburgh Fringe. Wow. I got reviews from The Scotsman and Broadway Baby, and I ended up getting my 5th award, which was Pick Up the Fringe.
Wow.
Which only goes to about a little over 100 shows, so I'm like one of 5% that got that title of Pick Up Fringe.
Now, how long were you there in Edinburgh?
I was there for a month. I did 26 shows in 26 days.
Woo! I love it.
Exhausting, but very rewarding. It was one of the most rewarding things I had ever done in my lifetime. I met people from the on the autism spectrum from all over the world. I met a guy from New Zealand who came and brought his parents. I met so many Brits on the autism spectrum, women and men. So it was great to meet people on the spectrum from all over the world.
Wow. Wow. And to go there. And now, didn't you film it? Didn't you film your experience?
Well, yeah. In addition to doing this one-man show, touring with it, I have a lovely director, my documentarian, Juliana Brudek, who came along and followed me because she followed me from California to Virginia to Pennsylvania. I didn't perform the show in Pennsylvania, but I spent some time there before I went to Scotland. And then she came with me to Scotland for a week. And then she came to New York City when I was getting ready for my show's premiere in New York City 1 year ago, actually, last May. And she captured the entire journey on a documentary feature film that's currently in post-production right now.
Oh, I love that. I can't wait to see that.
We're calling it My Life with Asperger's, and
Right.
that's pretty much the documentary. You're following me all around the world performing this show and meeting many different people on the autism spectrum along the way. Women, men, people of color. And I sit down and I talk to them and I hear their stories.
Oh, this is great. This is great. And this is what we saw right before this interview. We showed the trailer of that.
Yep. We're currently in post-production right now. We have one last hurdle, which is we do need to find a producer who either A, has funding, or B, can get us funding, because there's still post-production costs that need to be covered.
Right.
And right now, I've been covering everything out of my own pocket.
Woo!
So it's gotten a little, hefty, but I'm happy to do this. This is obviously a project that I'm very passionate about, and one of my plays directors, Penny, helped out with a little contribution here and there. But that's going to be the next challenge, is hopefully finding a producer who can either help us with funding and securing it, or providing the funding. But that's the last step of this process. And then we're hoping to have it out either by the end of this year or next year.
Right, right. It's, this year is going to be quite an adventure, isn't it?
It already has been.
Right. Yeah. Now, beside this wonderful Magic 8 Ball and your documentary, by the way, just one more question about the documentary. Where did you meet your director? How did you get in touch with her for the documentary?
It's actually kind of funny. I had 4 different directors who I was trying to work with to make this documentary happen. 4. I had 4 documentarians who came and went, and this was starting in 2016. I had 4 different men come and go from the project, either due to scheduling conflicts or there was creative differences with one of them. And I was ready to give up on the documentary because I had a feeling that it just wasn't going to happen. So I was ready to give up on it and let it go. However, Juliana came to me because we had mutual friends. I go to movie screenings all the time. I mean, not anymore, obviously, because everything's put on hold or canceled. But I would go to screenings at the New Beverly Cinema or the New Art, where they show these old horror movies or classic black and white movies, or just films that had a cult following that still get a good audience. So it's not new releases, they're like nostalgia screenings.
Right.
And I had a couple of mutual friends that Jules was also friends with. And Jules and I became friends on Facebook, and she started, looking at my profile, and she was seeing all the stuff I was doing with my one-man show, because I'm constantly promoting on my social media. And she was like, this is really, I'd love to make a documentary about this.
This is great.
And then everything just fell into place. She showed her commitment from the get-go. She traveled with me cross country in a road trip from California to Virginia.
Oh my God.
And we're both artists, and we both definitely had our moments where we weren't getting along or seeing eye to eye on things. and we
Right.
definitely had our spats, but
Right.
we managed to work through it, and we still made one heck of a movie that I'm really proud of.
Well, that trailer looks amazing. So I can't. It brought back the memories of how good that show is.
It definitely wasn't an easy process. It was the first time that I was going in front of the camera, just being myself with no lines to say, and it's very vulnerable. I was just revealing all of my heart and soul, and sometimes it was draining, sometimes it was rough,
Yeah.
and we still have one more mountain to climb with finishing the movie, but we will get there.
Well, I'm sure you will because it's on its way. And beside the Magic 8 Ball, beside what you're doing there, you are doing. I mean, I looked at your IMDb, and you have a part here and a part there. I saw your NCIS Los Angeles was great.
Thank you.
How was that? How was that? How did you get that?
Well, I have a lovely agent, Gail Williamson at KMR.
Gail.
Yep.
Love it.
I started working with Gail in the fall of 2017. She came and saw Magic 8 Ball when I did it at the North Hollywood Fringe Festival. And Penny and Crystal had done a reality show with their family on the OWN network, and they knew somebody who knew Gail, who had worked on Born This Way on A&E.
Okay.
So that was how I came to Gail, was through them knowing Penny and Crystal, because I'm forgetting her name right now, but she worked on Flex and Shawnee's reality show on OWN, and she worked on Born This Way.
Okay.
And so that was how I got introduced to Gail. And yeah, I mean, I finally hit the jackpot in 2019 after many auditions and either getting pinned or getting a callback or not booking it. I finally hit the jackpot, and I got NCIS Los Angeles as a guest star, and then I did an independent feature film called Penciltown, which I shot literally right before NCIS Los Angeles.
It's interesting how when they come, it's just like it just all comes at once, and then it
Literally a back-to-back. I was auditioning for NCIS Los Angeles while I was shooting Penciltown. Luckily, the schedule with the shoot didn't conflict with my audition or my callbacks. I was able to do both. I didn't have to book out.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then the week after Penciltown wrapped, I was on the Paramount lot getting ready to shoot my scenes on NCIS Los Angeles.
Oh my God, how thrilling that is.
It was, I mean, 30 was the best year of my life.
Now, I've heard a little rumor that there's something in your future to do with vampires.
Well, that's actually kind of funny you brought that up. I shot a independent horror film about vampires, and I played a vampire, but this was way back in 2015 when I shot it.
Oh.
So that was actually the director's name is Ryan Barton Grimley, and him and I did improv classes together at the Groundlings in the summer of 2014. And then 1 year later, he just called me up and said, "Hey, I have this part. Would you like to do it?"
Right.
So I still haven't seen that film myself. So
it's so interesting because I've done films like this too, where you do it like 5 years ago or 10 years ago, and all of a sudden it comes out 10 years later. So you never know.
I mean, I was just happy for the work.
My God. And for you to play a vampire, that must have been fun.
Oh, it was so much fun. I had prosthetic teeth put in, and I was playing a soldier in the army, and I got to keep my army shirt after we wrapped.
Right.
And who became a vampire. I think my character's name was Private Dirkman.
Okay, I can't wait till I finally see that one because I love vampire. I love, like you said, those midnight kind of features that you can go see.
Oh yeah, the last one I saw was in March before everything closed down,
Right.
and it was a midnight screening of Cats at Newark.
Oh my God.
Because even though it's a newer film, it's already got a cult following just because of how bad and campy it is.
I have to say, I've heard your singing voice, of course, in your show, and I saw your music video. It's gorgeous.
Well, thank you. The music industry is a lot harder these days to break into than the acting industry. I mean, with acting, you go into the casting director, you get the job or you don't. It's very cut and dry. Whereas with music, it used to be very underground. You used to have to, make connections and then audition for heads of record labels, and then they would decide if they want to launch you or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but now these days, everybody's just putting up everything on YouTube or SoundCloud or Reverb Nation.
Yeah.
And which I had my stuff on there too, but I took it off after a while because it wasn't really getting any traction. And I figured if I'm gonna do music, I have to find a new way to do it.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I'd love to see you sing in person. I mean, I did in your show, but I'd love to see you. I know it's easier said than done because it takes a lot of work to put on a one-person show, whether it's a cabaret, whether it's but it is, like you said, exactly. It's so hard the music.
Well, this one-man show was a perfect opportunity to display everything I can do.
Yeah.
Singing, acting, making you laugh, telling jokes. This was the perfect opportunity to do all of that.
Yeah. I have 3 questions from the Ethernet, internet, and one of them is from a lovely woman that we both know that you mentioned, Gail Ford Williamson.
Okay.
Your agent and my dear friend, agent. And you sort of mentioned this, but just as a specific thing, how long did it take for your one-man show to go from an idea to the stage?
Well, that's where it gets tricky because I can't remember if I watched the Oprah Masterclass episode in 2014 or 2015. I think I was at home with my parents at the time when I was watching it because I was going through some stuff in my old bedroom in Pennsylvania and figuring out what I was going to take back to California with me. And I had on OWN Network in the background.
Right.
So I think what happened was the seed was planted in 2014.
Right.
And then in 2015, I just started playing around with the idea in my head, like, what would the show look like? What songs would I do? What sketch characters would I do? Where would I put this show on? And then I started putting a pen to paper. Or in this case, I started putting fingers to a keyboard in 2016. So this was quite a process if we're going to count when the idea first started. We're talking 2.5 years.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And this was just a culmination of everything in my life leading up to that moment.
Right.
Because I was going back and talking about childhood in Virginia, and I was talking about my years of youth in Pennsylvania, and all the American Idol auditions I did, just trying to get known in the industry, and then coming to California and going to college, and then going to an acting class and surviving all the struggles that came with that, and just everything in my life was leading up to that show. So technically 2.5 years from idea to stage, but everything in my life was leading up to that moment.
That's not bad. A lot of people, I've been working on a documentary that's over 10 years old now. So
creative projects take time. I still haven't put out my first official album, and I've been writing songs and recording them since 2006.
So you write your own songs?
I do. I've written songs by myself. I've written songs with a music producer named Steven Rivera. One of my friends, Betsy Hammer, is a songwriter. I've written some songs with her.
Right.
I've worked with Eddie Hedges on some country material. I did contemplate moving to Nashville in 2016. However, I didn't have any Nashville connections, and I didn't want to just go to another city and start completely over after being in Los Angeles for, by that point, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I was already in Los Angeles by 7 years by that point. So I did kind of put the musical aspirations down, and I focused on the one-man show instead.
Right.
I still want to make an album. That's still a dream of mine. It's just, I think I have to get to I have to get to at least Jennifer Lopez status first, where I'm known enough as an actor where then I can transfer it. But
Well, and also after this documentary comes out, people might want some more music from you because you probably sing in the documentary.
I do.
So,
I do. So I'm hoping so. And I already have pretty much an album of songs at the ready to go. It's just I did take all my music down though, just because I'm not sure what direction it's gonna go in. Is it gonna be a country album? Is it gonna be a adult contemporary pop album? Is it gonna be a dance pop album? Because I met a music producer last year and we were talking about doing some dance stuff. So I mean, it just really depends on what label would be interested or what company would be interested in taking this on, and then what kind of direction would they want me to go in. Because I grew up listening to every genre of music, and I can sing many different styles.
Right.
Because I did a lot of musical theater growing up, so I'm definitely trained in musical theater, and then I did classical training in college. I sang in a gospel choir for a couple of years.
Well, I have to say that it shows, because I was listening to your voice. It's like you were singing a Stevie Wonder song, and I'm going, oh, wow. It's just like, it hits the eardrums in a certain way, and it just gives you shivers. So
thank you.
Beautiful.
I mean, I grew up on 90s R&B, and there was a group called Jodeci that made Lately a hit again in the 90s because they did it for their MTV Unplugged album. So
yeah.
I was a child of the 90s, so obviously I grew up on Boyz II Men and TLC and Brandy and Monica and Aaliyah. I grew up on all that stuff. So, but I mean, my sister also listened to Nirvana, Nevermind, nonstop in her room. So I mean, I grew up listening to everything.
I know that. Another question. Rebecca Wells asks, what would be your number one challenge being on the autism spectrum?
Well, I'm 31 years old, and I'm still a kid in a lot of ways. I still don't know how to cook. So that's...
I just learned during the quarantine.
That's excellent use of your quarantine time. I don't know if I have the patience for it. That's the downfall. I got to learn patience. I'm very blessed to have overcome a lot of the obstacles. I know that not everybody does. I graduated from college. I drive a car. I fought to overcome a lot of the obstacles, but also, I mean, being 31 years old, and I still haven't been in my first relationship yet. I was a little bit of a late bloomer when it came to that stuff. So I want to be in a relationship, but I'm taking my time with that. I don't want to force anything in that. I don't want to be in a relationship just for the sake of being in one.
Yeah.
So I've grown up in a lot of ways, but there are certain areas where it's like, okay, I still have some growing up to do.
Yeah. Well, I think, I mean, all of us, even when we get to our 80s or 90s or 100s, we're always learning and growing, I mean, yeah.
Having no filter, I also have to still watch what I say around people. Because I have absolutely no filter.
Well, I find that so refreshing. I mean, we had Bruce Valanche on the other week, and he says what he just says it. Also Miss Maysoon, Zaid, she's on, just says what they want to say, and it's so refreshing and so wonderful and honest, and I love it. A question from actress comedian Judy Nasmets. Have you ever been mistaken for George Reeves?
Funny you mentioned that. I am a friend of the online show on YouTube, Autism Live, that Shannon Penrod hosts.
Yeah.
I've done 2 appearances on it in 2018 and 2019. I'm actually getting ready to shoot my 3rd appearance this coming Friday.
Nice.
from here. And she was queuing up the next segment where I was going to go on and talk about my show, because last year I was going on to promote my upcoming New York and Los Angeles appearances. And it was really funny. She said George Reeves, and she said it, and then she realized she made the error when I came on and apologized. I was like, hey, that's okay. I would be flattered to be the Superman of the autism community.
I love that.
If given the opportunity, I'd love to be considered the Superman of the autism community.
Yeah. Well, if maybe I could be your Robin. No, that's Batman and Robin. Never mind.
both. I mean, both DC universes.
That's right. They sort of like.
At least you didn't get like Superman mixed up with a Marvel, superhero. They're both still DC, so you kept it within the DC family.
I always had a crush on Robin.
I didn't get to. Sadly, I didn't get to meet Chris O'Donnell or LL Cool J when I shot my scenes, because all my scenes were with Daniela Rua and Eric Christian Olsen, and they were both off that day, so I couldn't even like meet them around like the trailer section. But if I did have some FaceTime with Chris O'Donnell, I would have definitely geeked out over Batman and Robin, because he was Robin in the 90s Batman movies.
Yeah.
Batman Forever has a special place in my heart, because I saw it when I was 6, and it was the first Batman movie I saw in theaters, and it was for my sister's 10th birthday. So.
Oh.
And there was a local movie theater called The Daw in Tappahannock, which only showed one movie at a time. It was one of those kind of movie theaters.
Right.
And so that always has a sentimental place for me.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. If any of your viewers want to check out my one-man show, Magic 8 Ball, My Life with Asperger's, there's a direct way to watch it online on Vimeo. So you just type in www.vimeo.com/magic8ball, and 8 the number, not the way it is in letter form. So yeah, vimeo.com/magic8ball, and there's 3 videos on there, and one of them is the music video for the song. One of them is a X Factor audition, because I met a guy in the UK who said, hey, I can possibly get you on X Factor UK. So I put together an audition video that I still have yet to take down. And then there's the whole one-man show for you to enjoy during quarantine viewing time.